I believe I am live. Hi there. Hello, everyone. Just give me a minute here. I am flying solo today. My beautiful co-host, Rayania, is in a different time zone. So she is unable to make it. We decided that it was too early for her in the morning. So she's not going to be here for a couple weeks. But I decided that I would come on. Hello, everyone. Just give it a couple of minutes for everyone to come in. Hi, Annie. Hi, Kathy, Bridget, Diana, Alice, Kathy. Nice to see everyone. Hello. From Calgary. Nice. Great. Do we ask questions here, and what is allowed? You can ask, yes, you do ask questions here. Information gatherer. And you can ask whatever questions that come forward. It doesn't have to be about today's topic, although today's topic is kind of broad because we're talking about being human. And what does that mean? Yeah. Well, what I want to do actually is just open up the energy here. There's a lot of energy here anyway. And what I like to do is just kind of step in and expand the energy for everyone here, because this is kind of a big topic. I feel like that I want to bring forward some more information related to relationships and intimacy. Although I would like to answer a couple questions that have come forward as well. But before I start, let's just kind of open up the energy and bring it into a state of balance. So for those that are here, and as people are hopefully continuing to come in, let's just close your eyes for a minute and take some nice deep breaths. I'm just going to expand this space. And we're just going to invite in whatever is in the highest and best for you to come forward with grace and ease, according to divine law and order and the will of your oversoul and for you. Okay, just expand this space. Ooh. A lot of energy here today. Great. All right, take some deep breaths. I'm feeling a little bit of anxiousness that's still playing out in the energy. Definitely in the sacral area. So, the energies have really been elevated, and I think some massive things that are coming in. It's really, I'm aware that we now have access to the galactic core. So that means that you have such a greater access to who you really are and why you're here. So you have an opportunity to really step into your divine blueprint. And that's pretty amazing. So I think what I want to start with is just, I want to answer a question that came about in relationship to money, because I think that, one of the videos that I did is about divine abundance. And, the question was something like, I really, I desire to have great abundance for money, but I both have this awareness that people who have a lot of money aren't very nice people, and that I maybe have some I have mixed messages in relationship to having a lot of money in my life and how I feel in relationship to that. So what I'd like to say is that when we can realize whatever frequency that we are aligning to money, because money is a frequency itself, and often people align safety or freedom or things like that in relationship to it. So first we want to ask, like, what frequency am I aligning to money? And if I can align the frequency of divine abundance with money, then it's easy for me to allow for divine abundance into my reality, and therefore money has to come with it. And I think this is the bigger piece. That's how we can release all of the dialoguing around it, whether it's good or bad people or all that type of stuff, because really just break it down to the energy or frequency that it's representing in your world. I mean, are you just desiring money, or is it that you want divine abundance because you want, a wonderful life, and you desire to be able to do the things that you want to do. And of course, we're creating those anyway. But I feel like that hopefully that answers the question in relationship to money in our lives. I feel like that the more that we look at the dialoguing that's out there about money itself, because money is a part of a power struggle. And I think this is where I'll start to talk a little bit about being human. So I was trying to figure out how to bring this particular conversation, but I guess this is the part that wants to come forward, is that, I've talked a lot about, and not so much here, but in a lot of different ways in which I show up in the world, I've talked a lot about the false matrix and what that is, and that we are living in an inverted matrix. And what that means is that everything's backwards in the way that reality exists. And from what I can see in the origination of this false matrix, there was this desire to experience power in a way as though there's something different than authentic power. And authentic power is there's nothing greater than that I am, because I am source consciousness. But so the definition of power that we now have on the planet is something greater or less than something else. And that's a non-authentic really definition of power, because like I said, power is really the authentic is there's nothing greater than that I am. So the origination of this matrix kind of began from, if you imagine that here's pure light and we're pure light, and it's like this pulling away of yourself from pure light, and created a bit of density. And in that density, we began to play in this idea of power. And what began to happen is that it became a game of, if you have it, then I don't, then therefore I need to take it from you in order to have it. And so it's been this kind of push and pull and dynamics that have taken place. And this is kind of a key to what's gone on in this idea of being human, and what humanity is it's this game of this power, struggle that's been happening. It's also, the other side is vulnerability that's been played out. And authentic vulnerability is that I am, vulnerability is basically innocence, but we're also playing out this dynamic of vulnerability as weakness and fear and all these different things that are playing out. So what I noticed is that, we're all playing these characters, these roles, and the way in which we're taught to play them in a power game is that through appearance, and appearance through physical appearance, or things that I have, or necessarily how smart I am, or something like that. It's these ways of, as though I'm greater than somebody else. But the thing is it's a game that we're playing. And so then we have to keep up this game all the time. And then we're not very nice. There's no, we're actually not treating each other very nice. And where I'm trying to go with this is that, so I had this opportunity with this individual that I know that happens to be an older woman who is in a home that she's been living in, and she's in early stages of dementia. And I went to visit her, and I noticed that in the particular place that she was in. And it was not a terrible place, but it wasn't a fantastic place. But and they, it's assisted living, so they help her. And when I had gone, I noticed that she wasn't very clean. There wasn't, she needed to be kind of put together a little bit better in terms of what I felt was her needs. So when I spoke up about it, and then she was taken care of, then when I had seen her and she had her makeup on and she had everything on, what I noticed is that she was very cantankerous and kind of mean, and I was like, I was kind of struck by that. And then another time after that, I went to see her in another place that she was in, and this time she was, again, not very well put together, but she was very, very sweet. And what I noticed in the energy that I felt was that in the place that she was more put together, in the way that she put herself together, her energy was in a place that was showing up as a persona, and she was very connected to that whole way that she needed to show up. And so it was like a disconnect from her heart, and she wasn't very nice. But when she was just in this place of really just being, where it wasn't about showing up in a particular way, she wasn't connected to that. She was in her heart space, and she was very sweet and nice and present. And so, and I can feel that there's a lot of confusion in this, because this is coming through the mind space for a lot of people. But what I'm trying to bring that is so obvious about how we've been playing this game is that, instead of us being comfortable in our skin and being comfortable in our clothing, in our body, in ourself, and discovering who we are, so that we can show up in our heart space and happy and connected, and recognizing what the real law of one is, which is that we really are all connected in this field together. What we're doing instead of that is we're playing this game through power, which is, that I have to show up in a certain way. And it's not to say that if you're really connected to, looking a certain way or whatever, I'm not saying that there's any judgment in that. But if it's authentic to you, what I'm trying to get at is that it was so obvious in this person, the inauthentic nature of what took place between, this, in her case, it was simply like dressing up and putting on makeup versus being more casual. And this is such a key to us and humanity, because what we're doing is we're acting, right? We're actors in this play called our life. And then when we're acting, we're showing up, we're putting on a face, we're doing a thing, but we're all energy, we're energy and frequency. So when we're doing that, we are attracting whatever that image is to us, whether it's a person, whether it's a job, whether it's a situation. That means we have to keep that up, and it's exhausting. And it's a game, right? It's a game of power. It's like, and in that, we're not nice. We're not being nice to each other. There's this closing off that happens, and we're closed off because we are literally closed off, because we're acting. We're actors in a play. And it's like, why are we doing that? It's time to wake up, and this is what this is about. It's like waking up to who we are, because the other side of that, which is what we're seeing, is you're watching people that are giving up. So there's this whole kind of, I'll refer to it as kind of a sloppiness, or a giving up in the world, where there's a lot of weight coming on the body, or there's certain ways in which we're not necessarily taking care of ourselves, and we're doing this, and it's very different from authentically relaxing and being comfortable. It's extreme, you know. So I go to a job that I don't like. I have to wear something that's not even comfortable for me. So when I get home, I'm completely the opposite. And that way I don't even pay attention to the foods that I eat. I don't pay attention to anything because it's a total giving up. It's like this complete opposite. And this is what's playing out, you know, in all of humanity that we're doing until we're not. You know, and this feels like the biggest piece that wants to come forward, because to me, this is like the matrix in a nutshell. It's like being able to honestly take a look at ourselves and saying, what am I doing? And why am I doing this? Because everything is energy and frequency, everything. So if I'm showing up in a certain way, or I'm doing and I'm playing a game, whether it's, you know, like I said, it's tied to so many things. You know, how as a woman you're supposed to show up, or you're supposed to, let's use the word supposed to, you know, it's all these ways in which we're supposed to do things. And what if we began to just ask ourselves, you know, what if we went in our own heart and began to, you know, honor our own heart and just show up? That's what I'm doing here. You know, I'm just showing up. I'm showing up as me. I'm speaking my truth, and I'm just sharing, you know, from my heart to yours about what I'm noticing. And I had the opportunity to have it profoundly shown to me. Like, wow, it was so interesting to be with this individual and just feel the difference in their heart space. You know, and yes, there was, you know, the obvious looks that were there, but I'm trying to bring the connectedness that we have with that. You know, beauty is in through the heart space, and so is, you know, that's love, joy, freedom. All of this is through the heart space. And so what I guess what I kind of want to bring home is that we've been playing everything through the mind, and how about if we shifted to the heart space and began to notice, like, how am I really being? Am I nice? Am I a nice person? Am I really nice to me and to the world? Because when I'm playing these games and I'm separating myself, not only is it exhausting, but it's like, am I truly being genuine and nice, you know, to everyone, you know? And so this is why I kind of want to open this up and see if there's any questions and conversation. I mean, there's a lot that's coming through with this, and I'm going to take a look and see if there's anything here. But if anybody has anything they want to share or add or talk about here, let's see. I see information gatherer has, I'm dealing with digestive health, pending recommendation of surgery, want to avoid that. Your thoughts, and have a lot of mental health issues affecting functioning. Any help appreciated. Yeah, information gatherer, I think that well, the mental health aspect is huge in what's going on in the digestive. They're connected together, of course, because the digestive system is the emotional body and the physical world. So yeah, it feels like that you just got a lot of turmoil in your life, and I think that this particular topic that we're talking about is very connected to what's happening with you. It's like, who really am I? Am I allowing myself to show up? Am I allowing myself to truly discover who I am? I just feel like there's a lot going on in your energetic field. There's a lot of influence that's going on around you, and in your field. So I would suggest, if you can, get outside certainly as often as you can, but it just feels like there's a lot of containment going on around your field. So anything that's going to help expand that field. I feel like if you're interested, that's on my website. There's a course on judgment, and it's under the Brain and Body series that I think would be beneficial for you. So that would be my suggestion. So hopefully that is helpful for you. Suzanne, light language question when you have a chance. Does it translate to anything in English words? Thank you. You know, what's interesting about that, it does for me. Now, I don't know everybody else's experience, but I can tell you that as I'm doing light language, there is an English language speaking to me at the same time. So, and I feel like why it's happening in that way and why it began, because if those that know me, that I've been doing this for quite some time, I wasn't always doing light language, and I was in session, I was talking a lot more in English language and speaking about the different things that were going on. And then it shifted to the light language, I think for many reasons, but one of the reasons is that, you know, light language is, you know, we are light and sound, and the light language, part of it is the authentic sound communication with Sophia Gaia and with the consciousness here. So when I'm doing it, and as I'm with somebody, it's able to communicate with the quantum level of the cellular body and the field, your field, you know, because we are not in the body is within us, and our field is much larger, and we've got this giant field of energetics. And so through the light language, it's able to communicate with the entire field and bypass that individual's mental complex, because this is what happens, is that if a person, you know, we, just like how I'm describing even in our humanness, that we are these characters, well, through the English language, and the English language itself is actually designed in the false matrix. So it does have a lot of limitations to the different words. I'm speaking everything in the 0 point so that I'm not allowing for that limitation. But, you know, we have interpretation all the time through language. So if I were just to be speaking English language through a session, then the mind can kick in and start to draw some of those limits and limitations. So it's a bypassing of that's taking place. This is why I think you're going to start to, or hopefully, you know, within that context that I'm describing, humanity will start to have it more normalized, light language aspects that are coming through, because it is truly our communication. So hopefully that answers that for you. Is there any other questions? Diana, Cathleena, how do I not allow my environment to affect me? How can we interact with humans who are mentally disturbed or delusional or narcissistic? Well, in the 0 point. So that's the key. I mean, the key is to divine presence, you know. And so for those that don't necessarily know what the 0 point or how to experience it, the 0 point is the place of no thing and all possibilities. It's literally it's your heart space. And so how do I experience it? Is I want to be in the present moment without judgment. So I got my feet on the floor, I'm looking at my eyes, I'm in my room, and I'm noticing, am I in my head or am I in my body, in my heart space? Is it brand new? Because if I'm in the brand new, then it's brand new. And not only am I in the brand new, but in the 0 point, it's the place of no thing and all possibilities. That means if somebody else is energetic, whatever their behavior, you know, you're not matching it at that moment, because, you know, all we're doing in human existence is matching frequencies in order to be comfortable. So think of frequencies just as emotions, right? And by universal law, faster moving frequencies always try to raise slower ones up. That's just how it works. So if you and I come around each other and I'm happy and you're mad, what's going to happen is I'm going to irritate you because I'm vibrating in a faster rate, and because my happy is going to try to raise you up. So as long as I stay happy, you only have two choices. You either get happy with me or you go away. So, but if I'm able to be in that true, authentic neutrality, which is the 0 point, then it doesn't matter the mental energy or the frequency of mental illness, narcissism, any of those types of things, because they're not going to be able to be sustained. Because you see, we are source energy, and source energy is the fastest moving frequency. And when I am in the present moment without any judgment as a 0 point, I am source consciousness. I am vibrating as that I am. So no other frequency can sustain itself in that. So this is this idea. And how do I really maintain that? I maintain that by being myself. That's what I'm trying to describe about, being human and knowing yourself. And there's a lot more involved in that, because in this idea of being human, it's like, who really am I? Where am I from? What planet am I from? What universe am I from? What energetic am I? Let me feel that. Let me communicate that. If I stop trying to fit in and play a role and play a game, and I let myself show up and discover me, that I'm showing up as my unique geometry, my unique self, I'm adding myself to the world. It's so free. And with that becomes divine abundance and health and well-being and all of that, and we're nice and we're friendly and we're connected with each other. I know it seems, and it's both very simplistic and very challenging at the same time. So hopefully, Diana, that answered your question. Okay, Kathy. That's been my experience during sessions with you regarding the light language. It usually brings tears and remembrance of truth. Yes, absolutely. Diana, sometimes people's projections on me are unnerving. How did you get beyond feeling uncomfortable in that yucky energy? Yeah. Well, I think that talks to one of the videos that I did a little while ago, and it's about knowing what's in your own field. When we're feeling that yucky, uncomfortable energy, it's because we're matching something. And that's when, you want to really notice, like, what package am I that's coming forward, in my communication. And the other piece is, where am I coming from? I had to really recognize, was I coming from my solar plexus, or was I coming from my heart space, or my mind, or my throat? Where was I coming from? And for me particularly, it's super important that I come from my heart space, because my energy field, and many of your fields, lots of us have very large energetic fields. And, if we come from our solar plexus, you're going to come right at a person, because the solar plexus is how I identify myself in my humanness. And that's typically where we come from, that we don't realize too, when we have these personas that we carry. And that's why we show up not very nice, is because we're showing up from our solar plexus, and it's a very direct energy. And so it'll come directly at a person. You feel it, boom, like that. But if instead I'm showing up in the 0 point, I'm going to show up with my energy wide, and it's going to be a nice, big, comfortable field that somebody can feel. So it's not pushing and pulling and so on. And in that field is when I can notice, do I have things that are playing out behind the scenes? That's why I talked about, some of the energy of like how we're programmed through sexual energy, and sexual energy, is what we use as creative energy. And so it's not just like sex and sexuality, it is our sense of being. And if we're carrying that, and sometimes what we're doing is unintentionally we're hanging that out in the field, and what that can be like is that ambiguous state of being where I don't really want to show up in any place of identification, and there's a little bit different. So there's an idea of showing up in identification of myself as source, where my heart is open and I'm me. But there's another place where I'm trying through the mind, saying, I don't want to show up as any identification. So I'm not really clear necessarily with my boundaries, so to speak, with another person. how it's like, if I kind of want them to see me in a certain way, or I kind of don't know, or I'm kind of open, that's when we're keeping our energy field in this ambiguous state. And that's often when there'll be this, we'll call it sexual energy, that is playing out in the field. And that's where it can be that yucky, weird sort of feeling, because we don't know what's being played out, and so in order to avoid that, just show up in your brand new moment and let the energies play and feel each other, instead of it being like, me, I'm checking you out, or we just don't realize how much we're doing that. We're sizing people up all the time, or being sized up by people. And this is what I'm trying to say, is when we take all that out and truly open your heart and show up in that 0 point, the energy is quite different. It doesn't mean we don't have discernment. We'll have things that we like and don't like. You'll be able to start to feel things like that, but you'll start to notice more. We're just getting deeper at who we really are, because we're multidimensional and multifaceted. There's a lot going on in our energetic field, and it's really just noticing what's playing out. And it's playing out from many, many different timelines and lifetimes, and just lots and lots of things that are going on. So that was a big mouthful. Hopefully that that felt like it needed to come through. Okay, information gather. I don't speak well anymore to myself or my life or living. I'm just overstressed. Haven't been able to go out with weather. Yeah. Been told to love myself more, to help heal, but can't seem to focus to send love to my body. Yeah. Well, that's because there needs to be some forgiveness, and that's that divine forgiveness. And that's forgive me, forgive you, love me, love you. Compassion for me, compassion for you, gratitude for me, gratitude for you. And that's where that letting go can take place. And it's a different than a giving up, it's a surrender. So that's what's trying to play out there. Okay. Now 11, when our guts literally wrench inside of us, that is a good sign we are moving in wrong direction, correct? Well, I would say that depends, because, say like for me, for the first time of showing up on this type of medium, I remember when I was guided to show up Facebook Live, and I had the phone in my hand, and I was pacing and pacing, and I could have said my gut was wrenching, and I was just pacing around, and I wasn't brave enough the very first time. I actually just did the recording, and then I uploaded the recording. But I remember the first time that I did, I was pacing around, I just hit that button, I was like, oh. and you're kind of like frozen, and then you just talk, and it's like allowing that energy to come out. So I'd say, if you're feeling that gut wrenching, you want to ask yourself, okay, is this just fear? And is this fear of me, really stepping in and me really showing up as who I am? Or is this a genuine, this is not the right direction? And I tend to think when it's wrenching like that, is usually that's more of just a tremendous fear of something that is showing up in my field for me to look at. And so that's what I would do. I would just kind of like, okay, take some breaths, see if I can unwind that a little bit, and see, what am I really feeling? What am I really afraid? Is this something that I'm being guided towards? Because we are guided towards many things that are absolutely for our benefit, but we're afraid, and it's absolutely afraid. Yeah, I was afraid. Yeah, I was afraid you were going to say that about the gut wrenching. It makes so complex. Yeah. Well, it's not really, it seems complex, but it's just getting to know yourself. See, we do have the answers. We do know this. It's just that we often don't like it. it's kind of funny, right? It's like your higher guidance is saying, just like for me, when I was like, oh my God, I remember, years ago when I was feeling that I was supposed to be doing this. And I was watching an awards program on TV, and I watched somebody walk up to the podium, and I imagined that being myself. And I thought, I'm never going to do that. And I went out on my deck where I was living, and I started crying. And I was like, why do I feel that I'm supposed to be doing this when I'm never going to do this? And that's when I started to ask, I'm like, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? I was like, I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling afraid. I'm feeling naked. And I was like, wait, I'm feeling naked. And I was like, oh, wait. Well, I'm not physically naked. I'm like, I'm emotionally naked. And I was okay. Well, I like my emotions. So, all right, well, then I can do this. And that was the beginning. It was like, oh, okay, well, that's really what I'm feeling. And I think, Mel 11, that I would look into that. I mean, I would just ask myself, what am I really feeling? I mean, what is this? This is what we're here for. We're here to feel, to open. Just remember, we're just like little kids on the playground. That's all we are. And that this is our grand field. And when we can let go, when we can truly be present and allow ourselves to feel and to play, life gets a lot easier and much more simple. And you know why? One of the biggest reasons is because you start attracting the things that are meant to be in your world, that are part of you, instead of all that struggle that we're doing all the time, trying to make whatever this outside's been created from somebody else telling me who I am, and then trying to match that all the time. It's exhausting. So we're no longer exhausted in the energy. All right. Brilliant points. Great. Christy, so glad you stumbled across this as well. Destiny, can you clear timelines? Feeling a lot of things going on. And any and all help is appreciated. Yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit of a clearing for everyone at the end of this. It seems like something that I'll probably do pretty much for most of the videos. Alice, I heard true ourself is huge. Our physical body is a tiny portion, just per se. If the entire true self is the size of physical body, the physical body is the size of a fingernail. Yes, absolutely. Does that mean the true me is the size of a 100th floor complex building? Larger than that, much larger than that is your true size, to be honest. Okay, the native feminine, Jessica. Cathleena, what is your perspective on protecting your energy field? Is this really necessary if we are in the 0 point, or choose to just experience and feel? Yeah, I don't feel protection is necessary, but I do feel alignment. So the things that I do are that I clear like all emotional, physical, and mental channels, and I align my channels. And I've spoken before, and Carolyn Corey talks about this too, about the 3 mind channels. So we have, the first one, the closest one that we have is to the grid system. So you always want to make sure you're aligned to the original grid system. The second is the center of the Milky Way. And the third is pure prime creator. So I do align those so that we have that direct communication. And I just clear whatever might be in my field. So I notice. It's more about being the observer. So when you're in the 0 point, because we might not always be aware of the 0 point. And so things may show up in our field. And plus, we're here in this human form, and we're working through things, and we're discovering, and we've had timelines. And because this false matrix still exists here, and there's all these different energies, so we're magnets for those things, and those things are coming into our field. So it's more about noticing, how am I feeling? What's happening to me? And instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to protect, I have to do, just, take a breath, drop yourself into the 0 point, remind yourself that you're source consciousness, become the witnessing observer of yourself. So instead of it like, I'm in it, I got to protect, I got to just imagine you're standing over here and you're observing this you that's now inside of you. And you're like, oh, what's going on with her? What's happening? And that's when you can start to notice what's in the field. And you can do things to clear it. That's why I have on my website, all the spiritual practices that I close all portals, gateways, pathways, meridians, stargates, wormholes of any access to my energy. I clear any MK Ultra mind control, holographic inserts, consciousness traps, reversal timeline loops, any 5G sonic frequencies, any COVID or viral frequencies. You can release any entities, energies, inorganic frequencies, inorganic technologies, inorganic timelines. These are things that's just more about releasing them. So it's not, I don't feel it's a protection like that, and that there's any need to protect your energy from anything because we're source consciousness. I think that plays the game of power that is the false matrix. So hopefully, Jessica, that answered your question. Christina, question. Okay, this weekend I had an intense awakening and interaction with two friends working together. Any advice how to integrate more smoothly this intense awakening? Well, I feel like that that you are integrating it. And I think that the more you can, well, I would just take some breaths because I can feel your field right now. It just feels like, that there's kind of a mourning going on. And this is part of what happens when we do have the awakening and much more, is that there can be fear of letting go, fear of letting go of who I thought I was. And this isn't always on a conscious level. As a matter of fact, most time it's not on a conscious level. It's usually on an unconscious level. So it creates this kind of angst and this little bit of energy, which is what I kind of felt in your field when I stepped into that. And it just feels like it's a little bit of this uncertainty. So a little bit of fear of the unknown, of is this good? Is this not good? Am I safe? Am I not? And so this is where you just want to breathe and allow for those energetics to just find their way and move. And I'm helping you with it as we're kind of talking about it. But this is also what's happening as we are shifting and aligning and so on, that there's this, letting go of who I thought I was. And it's on a very deep level, because it's that we've been holding on to personas on much deeper levels than we recognize. And that this is part of what I'm feeling. It's those places of like, how I've felt safe, or I thought I was, or I knew myself, or, because there's just so much playing out in this world that we're living in of fitting in and aligning, and so I think that that's helping to smooth that out, Christina, as I'm stepping into that energy. I want to take a couple of deep breaths because I'm really feeling a bit more that needs to, there we go, move. Just move a little bit more through that solar plexus, because that's where it's getting a bit clogged up. And of course, that's, like I said, how we identify ourselves, and just let that expand. And it's really the connection between the solar plexus and the heart space. There's something in there. It's a bit of that knowing energy. So yeah, that's good. Take a nice deep breath, because I can really feel that moving. Yeah, let me know how you're feeling, Christina, because I think that's. Like I lost my mind and felt so deeply out and connected. Yeah, let me know how you're doing now, because I could really feel those energies shifting in. Okay. Information gatherer. When others live with continue to breach boundaries and no resolution, how to meet that go when it affects how I live in my healing? Well, again, we have to realize that I am the creator of my entire existence, basically. I mean, whether we recognize it or not, I am source consciousness, and everything in my field I am bringing into my field. So that's that place of finding that neutrality, and when we can truly be in the now moment, 0 point, then we can have a better evaluation about why I'm bringing things into my field, and what is in my field. This is kind of what we're stepping into. I'm good, feeling a vortex inside me. Good, that's great. Yeah, there's a lot going on inside you, Christina, for sure. I can feel that in the solar plexus area, actually, because what that is opening. It's opening for you, because there's like, it's like spinning an opening, because there's like this much more information about who you really are that wants to come through that energetic field for you. Oh. Alice H, how large? Could you please give us something to relate to, image, feel with? Yeah. Well, I can just tell you that my energetic field is larger than this universe. I mean, that's what I can feel. It's beyond. I can't see the edges of what my field is, of where it is. So I think you'd be surprised. We are eternal. We are infinite beings, and we're multidimensional. So our field is very connected. And as we communicate, more, because see, we are one with all things. So it's not, I think the linear mind wants you to have boundaries to yourself of who you are. But that's not really your energetic field. I mean, we have a physical body that has the idea of, a separation, of boundary aspect, but our energetics really doesn't. And what we're doing is we're awakening aspects of ourselves, so that as this being awakens, it's like these pathways are here. It's like, imagine yourself as this giant puzzle piece of like all these different pathways that are there. Think of like roads or something, different streets that are just millions of them, and they go infinitely in many different directions. But they're not highlighted. And that as you are embodying more of yourself, they become highlighted. There's just more access. And that's really what's happening, is more access to yourself. And the greater access to yourself, then the greater awareness. And that's like this embodiment. That's what it means, of like embodying your oversoul, which is like a larger container. And then there's this monadic template, which is even a larger container. And I'm not sure what would be the name after that, but there's just a lot of, there's a lot of us. We're much, much larger than we can imagine. Hopefully that all makes sense as well. These are great questions. Good, yes. All right, well, we just have a couple of minutes here, so I'm actually going to go deeper into the energy and just bring this in. Any final questions that anybody has before I step in here for those that are here? I'm not seeing anything. Okay, so if you guys want to close your eyes and take some nice deep breaths, and I just want to bring in more of your soul essence. So I'm going to step into actually your solar plexus, and we're going to expand that a bit. Just take some deep breaths. There's no fear, just letting go of fear. So I'm just expanding this space. I'm just going to expand this to meet the heart complex. And it's really like it's sort of bringing you inside your own heart complex. This maybe bring a lot of emotions, and I think it's going to bring a lot of different things to your mind as well as to your body, and just allowing it. I'm just really what I'm doing is I'm expanding the 0 point, but I'm doing it in a way that is expanding your current field, so that it's going to bring out the things that are ready and willing to come to the surface, to move, to alchemize, to shift, to release. Just take some deep breaths. Just allow that. Just going to expand this field more. Just giving you an opportunity. There you go. Just take some nice big breaths. I'm just going to be bringing this into just a greater sense of present moment. I'm going to allow for the frequencies of joy, excitement, exhilaration, curiosity to be brought into this field. With everything, with the exploration of who I am, who I've been, with what I desire, how I want to show up. That very childlike joy, excitement, exhilaration, curiosity. And with this is pure divine abundance. It's beautiful. Just going to expand that field a little bit more. Take some nice deep breaths. I'm just going to give you permission to let go within this field. Just letting go and allowing for pure divine forgiveness of self and others, for any judgment, for any places of not feeling worthy, any doubt of who I am. I'm just going to let all that, give that permission to release, to let go. So we're just going to keep expanding this field. We'll allow for true divine freedom and oneness, and feel this beautiful feel that we're all in as one beautiful creation of pure source light. So it is, and so it is, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful. Just gonna expand that a little bit more. As I'm expanding it, we're just going to continue to release out any of that fight or flight, any judgment, any fear, any of this separation. I'm just releasing this from the solar plexus and the sacral. And I'm going to disconnect from this particular space, that mind matrix that's trying to play out and reminding you of what your limits, your limitations. I'm going to disconnect that field so that you can feel this beautiful open space, just taking out that tension. I'm going to take that out of the eyes and just open up that field just a little bit greater. Beautiful. Look at this. That's great. Beautiful. Beautiful. Right. That's a beautiful field, and I encourage you to experience this again, to come back into this field, because it's a beautiful field that was created. And thank you all for this amazing co-creation. Any final questions before I sign off? Or anything that anyone wants to share or say or anything? Super wonderful. Yeah. I love the energy. It's very, very beautiful and light. I felt a lot of expansion. I can still feel the expansion with everybody here. Remember, we're one, we're not alone, and this is beautiful. And thank you all for coming and creating community. And that's what this is about. If you like this, share it, like it, subscribe. I do have donations if you feel inclined as well. And I appreciate everyone. So yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. And some people actually send questions to my email. You're welcome to do that at CathleenaHailley@gmail.com as well. Or I will see you guys next week. My beautiful co-host will not be back until I think February. So I'll be flying solo for a few weeks. Thank you. Thank you. Yay. All right, everybody, have a fantastic evening and weekend. And see you next week. Bye for now.